Okay, everyone, thank you for joining me for this session of going through the market data of Lake Lanier's second quarter of 2026. And I just want to give a really big thank you to Keller Williams for providing me access through our luxury program to Live Luxury, which is the Southeast area's luxury, a subset of what Keller Williams offers, and then a partnership that they have with Chartmaster that for the first time we're going to see data a little bit differently than how I usually pull it and share it with you. But goodness gracious, it has saved me probably between 6 and 10 hours of work from this past quarter of pulling data and putting it in a way that is easily understandable and explainable for you guys. So thank you, Chartmaster and Keller Williams and Live Luxury. And let's begin. So I would say if you've been trying to figure out what's happening in the Lake Lanier market in this quarter, second quarter of 2026, some of these numbers may seem like they contradict each other, but we'll understand it all in a big story soon. So if you look at this first column, active listings, you see that we have more homes for sale. And under this homes sold column, we have fewer closed sales. This is based off of last year, but so a lot of homes for sale, not a lot of homes closed. And in the middle, we have we can see that we're in a buyer's market because there's over 7.5 months of inventory. But what's interesting is the homes that sold in the second quarter sold faster than they did at this same time last year, and they sold at a higher price, which is interesting. And I'll show you a couple slides, which we're going to get into later on. Here you can see where they sold faster. And then here you can see where they sold at a higher price. So what's really happening? To me, it's pretty clear that the market on Lake Lanier is really separating homes that are positioned well from homes that aren't. What does that mean? How do you position something well? Well, of course, it's going to be based on the location and a presentation and pricing. So pricing is really important to get right. And you really need to trust an expert agent on the lake who knows how to get your pricing right. But then the presentation right now, people are not that interested because there's so much inventory. People are not interested in having to do work on a home if there's other homes that are truly move-in ready condition, and not just move-in ready, but updated where they're not going to have to do any work to it for at least a couple of years. So those are things to keep in mind. Now, let's start with supply and demand. In the second quarter of 2026, inventory increased 5.6% compared with the second quarter of last year at the same time. And pending sales increased 11.1%, which is encouraging. But we see here closed sales are down 5.8%. So again, it's kind of confusing and contradictory, right? What it tells me is that buyers have more choices, as we've seen with the number of active listings on the market, but those choices haven't translated to completed sales, not yet. At 7.7 months of inventory, a little over 7.5 months of inventory, we know Lake Lanier is in a buyer's market overall. And in fact, 4 of the price bands here show that they kind of fall into that buyer market territory. And that doesn't mean every buyer can name a price and every seller has to take it, but it does mean buyers have room to compare, and they have room to negotiate, they have room to walk away if the price and the property don't line up. Now, here's the part that can get lost if we only talk about inventory. The homes that closed in the second quarter of 2026 sold for 94.5% of their current list price. That improved 2.7 points over this same time period last year. They also went under contract in a median of 44 days, which is 28 days faster than last year. But let's be really clear about what that number means, because the 44 days only is measuring homes that actually closed. Remember, that's not a very big percentage of the homes that are on the market. So it's not including those listings still on the market or the homes that came off the market without selling. So we can't say the entire Lake Lanier market's moving quickly, but we can say, again, that the homes that are selling are better positioned, and those are the homes that move. The strongest seller lesson in this report is about pricing. Just over 43% of the homes that sold needed a price reduction first. And those sellers reduced their original asking price by a median of 11.5%. But obviously, reducing the price didn't put them back in the same position as the homes that started at the right price. And we can see that even more when we look at the gap between the original list price and the final sales price. So those who priced well from the beginning and didn't have any price reduction, or the ones that did have a price reduction, I should say, were 14.5 points more reduced. And the time penalty was even bigger. As you can see here, the price reduced homes took about 7 months longer to sell, which is 17.5 times as long. So you can do a later price reduction, but what you can't get back is your first 2 weeks on the market when your listing's new and buyers are paying the most attention. So what does this mean if you're thinking about making a move on Lake Lanier? Number one, if you're selling, you cannot price the house based on what you hope a buyer will pay and assume you can fix it later. We need to look at your exact price range, what's happening in that price range, your dock situation, the condition of your home, the water, the view. And we really need to look very closely at the competing inventory so we can position your property correctly from the very first day. And if you're buying, you've got more leverage than you had in a faster market, but the best positioned homes are still going to go fast. So they're not going to sit around and wait for a lower offer. There is demand for the right lake property at the right price. And you can see that here with the homes that were not price reduced. They were only on the market for an average of 13 days. So those are moving fast. And there is one more important point. Lake Lanier is not one market. That's why we have this broken out into these price bands on this chart. Conditions below $1 million looks different from the market above $2 million. And really, I would say it's more like $1.2 million is our new dividing line on Lake Lanier. If you have a private dock versus a community dock, those are going to also need different comparisons. And if you want to know what these numbers mean for your home or for the part of the lake where you want to buy, send me a message and I'll help you look at the numbers that actually apply to you. We've got a lot of tools that we can look through together and make some great decisions.